Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome aboard the MAX Afterburner podcast, brought to you by the No Fallen Heroes Project. Great week, folks. A lot to catch up on, a lot going on. It's always fine. Everything's fine. Had a great call Monday with the Cohen Veterans Network. Stevie Cohen and his wife pitching into the fight to save and change lives, donating recently $5 million to, I believe it was MDMA therapy. Got that news when we were out in Colorado at the Psychedelic Science Convention and shot the Cohen Veteran Network an email. Just, hey, would love to talk to y'all. So me, Justin Lepre from Heroic Path to Light, one of our strategic partners, and Jack Doyle, who's both on our board, advisory board, and Justin's advisory board as well, reached out, and we got on a phone call Monday with them, with their chief of staff, and then an Air Force, retired Air Force doc for, I think he said 30 years, at least 20, 30 years. And it was good. Our phone call. And the Cohen Veteran Network actually has clinics. They have a pretty big existing veteran outreach, but this was bringing them up to speed on what we're doing with our psychedelic-assisted therapy, our healing grants, with the No Fallen Heroes Foundation being forced currently to seek treatment outside the United States. And then obviously Justin and Heroic Path to Light pitching into the fight to heal Americans at home, healing our heroes at home. So it was a good call. Wasn't with the philanthropic arm. Right. So I guess Mr. Cohen and his wife have their own, obviously, foundation, and that's, I guess, where the money came from. So we have to talk to the money folks, right? But the non-money folks said, hey, it's a good thing we talked at least, because if they are interested in donating to this cause, they'd probably give us a call and say, hey, vet these people, and we just did. So it was a good call. Never a bad thing to reach out and talk to folks and just keep spreading the word. Cody ended up going up to Boynton Beach this week and taking a look at a clinic up there from a compassion behavioral health. I believe it was, just flew out of my head, checking out what they're doing. So a lot of good is going on. Again, today, the Wall Street Journal, folks, another psychedelic article, folks. You just can't, obviously Democrats, New York Times, they've been there for a while, but folks, this is the Wall Street Journal. When we got back from Denver, 3 days in a row, the Wall Street Journal had articles on psychedelics. Here is today's headline, Wall Street Journal: the new promise of psychedelics. Research on mice suggests that the long-banned drugs can have surprising therapeutic effects for humans, though risks remain. Always got to throw that in there, right? Hey, Wall Street Journal, you can give me a call. I'd love to do an interview here. Research on mice suggests. How about research on humans, dude? This ain't my first rodeo. I've been doing this for a couple years, folks. How about you talk to the humans? I get it. Dudes and ladies in lab coats and eating boogers and slide rules and pocket protectors need data for Uncle Sam. I get it. And then I also get talking to healers, medicine men and women, tribes that have been doing this for thousands and thousands of years. And they kind of laugh at the folks in the lab coats like, okay, do what you need to do with your beakers. We're telling you that this stuff has been around for thousands of years, healing humans. So it's just interesting to see, hey, surprising information on mice. How about surprising information on humans? We're already doing it. Again, next 6 to 12 months, MDMA being rescheduled for therapeutic use, DEA, FDA, and here we go. Game on, right? So good stuff this week. A lot of good stuff. Had a great day yesterday. We launched a new partnership with Altos Trading, Jeff Tompkins, and a weekly options futures cert. You can head to altostrading.com/WOF, weekly options futures. So we have a strategic partnership with Jeff. Told you ages ago, folks, you want to join MAX Afterburner. the lifetime membership at Top Gun Options. Why? Because they just got access to that service for free. $1,500 a year. They just saved right into their pocket. So great deal to be a lifetime member here at Top Gun Options. The MAX Afterburner group is what we call it. And just an awesome brief. Here's why it was an awesome brief even more. So we have a strategic partnership now with Capital Trading Group, big futures firm based in Chicago, and Nell Sloan, the principal at CTG. Here's how this all came about. 3 months ago, Nell reached out to me and said, "Hey, heard about what you're doing with your foundation, and I'd love to try and help." I said, "Wow, that would be great." And then she told me her story. Her son, Frankie, beautiful soul, incredible human being, United States Marine veteran, took his own life. And Nell said, "Whiz, I'm pretty sure, pretty positive that had me, Frankie, and we had known about the healing potential of these medicines, he probably would still be here. I want to help No Fallen Heroes." Man, incredible. Yeah, how many times I've heard this too often. Right? I love the Tom Cruise movie Minority Report, right? The Department of Pre-Crime. Hell, man, why doesn't the VA have the Department of pre-suicide? Why don't we catch these people before it's too late? I hear this. I hear the before, right? I hear this from Nell. I hear this from other wives, husbands, parents. And I bookend that with guys and gals, either retreats I'm on or the texts that I get or the phone calls that I get, the retreats that I'm not on, that say, "Whiz, I don't want to kill myself anymore." You know how, that just, I can't describe the feeling. It's a feeling of relief. It's a feeling of happiness. It's a feeling of grace. It's a feeling of empathy. It's, ineffable almost hearing that. So we have people at the front end like Nell saying, "Man, maybe if Frankie had known about this, he'd be alive." And I got people at the back end saying, "I don't want to kill myself anymore." And the Wall Street Journal is talking about mice. Hey, this looks really good for mice. So here's why I bring this up, because Nell at CTG, obviously they're a broker, they're a registered entity, Uncle Sam, all that good stuff. They got all their regulations. They can't, Top Gun Options can't get paid anything because I'm an unregistered entity. Obviously, no offense, Uncle Sam, I like staying as far away from Uncle Sam as possible. But Nell said, "Hey, our compliance department and everybody's cool with we can donate the commissions, a portion of the commissions each quarter generated from this new trading service to the No Fallen Heroes Foundation." Absolutely blown away by that generosity. First of all, she cut the commissions pretty good for this offer, but she's like, I'm not going to can't cut them to zero or there's no donation. So she found a nice, happy, giving everybody a great deal, but right in the middle where she can send a portion to the No Fallen Heroes Foundation each quarter. That'll all be disclosed, obviously. We just don't even know what it would be. I think as of me jumping on the live trade brief this morning, there's 28 current lifetime members that want access to this new service. And also, I think about half of those, maybe even more, want the auto trading capability through CTG. What's auto trading mean? When Jeff places a trade, you just sign a thing with CTG that says, "Hey, whenever he fires a trade, opens, closes it, just do it." I forget what it's called. Letter of whatever intent. I don't know. But this is good, folks. If you want to learn how to trade options on futures, different rules and stuff than the equity options that I trade, and a little bit cooler, to be honest with you. I sat through the brief yesterday. I learned. If you want to watch the replay, go to YouTube to the Top Gun Options page. Make sure you subscribe. Go to the Top Gun Options YouTube page, and it should be the first video that you see, or one of the first videos that you see. You can watch the replay from the brief. You can watch Nell describe, and she shows some pictures of of her beautiful son, Frankie. She's got Travis. So she's just what a great mom, great human. Thank you, Nell, for pitching into the fight. Now, having said that, I was in my hot yoga this morning, my vinyasa, lying there on my back, near death, obviously, towards the end. In the final Shavasana, I'm lying on my back. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Why aren't you reaching out to Ameritrade, E-Trade, well, Morgan Stanley, Schwab, Robinhood? Why don't these brokers, commissions, right? Commission. Whenever you hear the word commission, immediately delete that word and put negotiable. Whether it's a realtor, a yacht broker, whenever you hear the term broker, right? Commission, negotiable. Those three words are all interchangeable. So it's kind of free money for these brokers. And I love people that are like, well, Whiz, I don't pay a commission. I trade at Robinhood. Okay, folks. If you're not paying anything, you're not the customer, you're the product. So I love when people say that. Well, I trade commission free at this broker. You're not. If you're sitting at the poker table going, I wonder who the idiot is, it's you. So folks, commission-free trading is you're the product. Robinhood, who are the customers? Mentioned his name earlier. Steve Cohen, Ken Griffin at Citadel. It's called payment for order flow. Separate conversation, whatever. Let's get back on topic, Whiz. What I'm saying is I got a busy day today. I'm going to start reaching out to brokerage houses. Why can't they say, hey, man, a percent of every trade goes to the No Fallen Heroes Foundation, or not even me, to a veterans charity? I don't care, folks. I just want to heal veterans, first responders, and their families, and they will lead the way to everybody healing, potentially. Healing is possible. Again, the medicine isn't necessarily for everyone. Radical dudes, radical ladies might need radical healing. You can do the hot yoga that I did this morning. You could do breath work. You can climb to the top of a mountain, man, but the world would be a much better place with healing. Now, I want to transition out of trading, investing, and talking about that stuff to an interesting topic, and it's called forgiveness. Okay, and I want to dig into this. I have this book is incredible, folks. It's called A Course in Miracles. This my first guide in the medicine work. Cynthia told me about this book, and man, it has landed. It went right through me, folks. A Course in Miracles. I listen if you're interested. I mean, you can get the book. It's kind of like a Bible. You can go to YouTube, Google what's today's Julian date, right? A Julian date is based on 365 days. So today is 192 or whatever today's Julian date is. You can go to YouTube and say ACIM, that's the short for A Course in Miracles, ACIM and today's Julian date, ACIM space 192, and listen to that day's lesson. 5 minutes. I think the longest one's like 7. I mean, it's a nice condensed daily reset. Not even going to give you an affirmation like Stuart Smalley from Saturday Night Live. The A Course in Miracles has really been the icing on the cake of my healing. Let me just start with this. This is how it starts. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. I'm going to read that again slowly and let you digest it. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Now, I want to talk about forgiveness, okay? And I'm going to tell you that forgiveness is a human thing. Here's what I mean by that. When I did my pre-work going into the medicine for the first time, Cynthia said, hey, you need 5 intentions. What are your intentions going into this healing medicine journey? What are 5 intentions? And then she said, also come with 5 questions for the medicine. right? And I'm glad she said medicine beforehand, because if she had said, like, come with 5 questions for God, I would have been like, okay, whatever. Obviously, before the medicine, I would have said that, like, what? Or 5 questions for source or spirit or whatever. I'm glad she said, come with 5 intentions for the medicine and 5 questions for the medicine. Obviously, after I now can fill in I can delete the word medicine. Here's what happened to me. Throughout my life, I have harmed countless people. Well, I don't want to say countless. That really sounds awful, but I'm a human. I have faults, failures. I have no doubt that I have hurt folks in my life. And I am truly sorry from my core, from my soul, right? Especially now, after knocking off all the rust and seeing that I am a soul, I say that, right? But I'm going to share with you, it's really interesting, and it's going to land either solid with you or it might not land solid with you. And if it doesn't land solid with you, I invite you to reflect on why it doesn't. Okay, and here we go. Because on the medicine, when I was the ibogaine, when God just kind of had me under its shoulder, like showing me everything, and then the 5-MeO DMT, when I went from sitting to infinity and one with source, one with God. The ibogaine was, I had more time to hang with God and kind of converse, even though there was nothing ever said. It was all energy. And God also communicated, episode 7, go listen to it, through the music. Never a word said, didn't need to be. I got all of it. God doesn't need words. I got everything God was saying to me. Here's what happened. I kind of was on my knees, like, hey man, or woman, don't want to say hey man, but you know what I'm saying. I said, kind of on my knees, like, I am broken. I need forgiveness for everything I've done wrong. And it was, I'll never forget this moment for the rest of my life. And I carry this feeling, God, not that God can shrug, but God kind of was like, you have it. You are absolutely forgiven, son. I do not make imperfect things. So it's just kind of like almost a wave of his hand, or it was kind of like and everything was gone. The shame, the regret that I had, that I carried for decades of hurting people maybe the week before going into the medicine, was gone. It literally all left my body. Because even in my low points, I knew when I hurt somebody that it sucked. And I also hurt who? Me. Because I am you and you are me. If I hurt somebody in my life, I hurt me as well. So in that moment, when I begged for God's forgiveness, God gave it to me. I didn't need it. It was automatic. Now, I want to share this with you because this is pretty cool. This is pretty magical. This is from the Course, A Course in Miracles. Forgiveness is unknown in heaven, where the need for it would be inconceivable. I want you to sit with that. I read this book. I don't know if you've seen on the cameras. Look at the highlighters. I think I've gone through 1,000 buy stock in highlighter companies. Folks, sit with that. Forgiveness is unknown in heaven, where the need for it would be inconceivable. Now, if that doesn't resonate, let me lay this on you. However, in this world, forgiveness is a necessary correction for all the mistakes that we have made. To offer forgiveness is the only way for us to have it, for it reflects the law of heaven that giving and receiving are the same. Heaven is the natural state of all the sons of God as he created them. Such is their reality forever. It has not changed because it has been forgotten. That's me. It's talking to me. I had forgotten all of this. And that's the Holy Spirit's job, right? Sin is an error to be corrected, not something to be punished. I'm telling you, man, the God that I experienced might not be your God. I'd like to think it is. Wasn't a dude sitting on a throne with a white beard and a long flowing robe. It was love. That's all it was. And me being separate from that source, sin is separation. You ready? It goes on. Forgiveness is the means by which we will remember. Through forgiveness, the thinking of the world is reversed. The forgiven world becomes the gate of heaven because by its mercy, we can at last forgive ourselves. Holding no one prisoner to guilt, we become free. Acknowledging Christ in all our brothers, we recognize his presence in ourselves. Forgetting all our misperceptions and with nothing from the past to hold us back, we can remember God. Beyond this, learning cannot go. When we are ready, God himself will take the final step in our return to him. Let me take a step back for a second. I'm telling you, folks, 5 years ago, me walking past this podcast studio, if I saw me reading from A Course in Miracles, reading this shit, I would have given me a wedgie and stolen my lunch money. Thank God that guy died on a bed in Mexico on the floor of a home, surrounded by my brothers. A TAC-P, 2 Navy SEALs, an NFL great. Died and reborn. Forgiveness is unknown in heaven. The need for it is inconceivable. I felt this when God kind of looked at me and shrugged and said, Matthew, you're forgiven, my son. If you need it, here it is, but you don't need it. Blown away, folks. Why? Because in my life, when I had a conscience and I still, but also had a raging ego, if I harmed somebody, I oftentimes do my best to apologize or ask for forgiveness, and maybe other times I didn't. But I felt like, man, I have to crawl on broken glass to beg some people for forgiveness. But no, you actually don't. Do not be tied to the forgiveness from somebody else, okay? And again, this is why I said it might not land with some of you. Because there are some people in my life currently who are still kind of holding on, like, I apologize, I ask your forgiveness, but there's a side of me who goes, I don't need that. And that might not land well with some people. Like, how dare you? You must ask and demand that from me. I'm not going to let that hold me back. First of all, that doesn't exist anymore. Suffering is a choice. Whatever I've done doesn't exist anymore as apart from this moment. So forgiveness, again, folks, is kind of that, it's a human construct. I loved A Course in Miracles saying all this stuff because it was incredible. Now let me find, I opened today, random. I don't know if it's today's Julian date, to be honest with you, but I just opened A Course in Miracles when I was sitting here like, you know what? I need to talk about forgiveness because this is kind of an issue right now in my life with some folks. Shall remain nameless. Don't need to know who they are, but it's kind of, old me would be like crawling on broken glass to try and get somebody's forgiveness, and new me knows that is not necessary. It might be necessary for them, but I invite them to do the work. But you ready for this? This is lesson 196. It can be but myself I crucify. Sit with that for a second. It can be but myself I crucify. You ready? When this is firmly understood and kept in full awareness, you will not attempt to harm yourself nor make your body slave to vengeance. You will not attack yourself, and you will realize that to attack another is but to attack yourself. You will be free of the insane belief that to attack a brother saves yourself, and you will understand his safety is your own, and in his healing, you are healed. I swear, hand to God, I sat on my couch in my office before this podcast. I just opened, I'm like, and it came right to that. There ain't no such thing as coincidences, Whiz. I call them God winks, said my brother Daniel Carcillo. It can be but myself I crucify. So I get it. I still have ego, right? It keeps you alive. It's keep looking out for danger. I get it. But after experiencing ego death, literally ego death, it's a lot smaller, which obviously as a fighter pilot whose egos can't be measured on the ego scale of infinity, it's in check. And reading some of this stuff again during a week where we got what? More bad news out of Ukraine and Russia. Reading this stuff. Old me would have swam across the Atlantic by now to kill as many Russians as humanly possible. New me says stop. You're killing you. How dare you? You're a Russian sympathizer, Putin plant. Yeah, okay, enough. God forbid somebody mentions the word peace. War is good for business, isn't it, folks? Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, you name it. Good for business, man. I saw a report, I think in the Journal this week. They're bringing like 70-year-olds out of retirement at Raytheon, one of the defense contractors, to make more Stinger missiles. Like they're so old, they're bringing the dude. We're killing each other. Not that God can weep. How can you, when I came back during my ibogaine journey, it's so cool with ibogaine, iboga. 99.9% of the people that I've done the medicine with or sponsored or, given healing grants to, and they've given me their debrief, have had a similar experience. How can that happen with like plant medicine? Meaning this, the first half of the ibogaine is a tour. It's a visual, they call it the visualization phase. I don't know if we can say the word half. Maybe my visualization phase was like 10% and being with God and everything was 90%. I'm just saying I can break it up into two. Because humans, we kind of have to like label things, right? It was a half. The first stage was visualization. When I got home and I told Susie, I'm like, never have to travel again. She's like, what are you talking about? You just went to San Diego and Tijuana? I'm like, no. I traveled everywhere. I saw everything. You name it, I've seen it. Anything I saw, it was incredible. Here's what I'm getting at. After God gave me the tour and we came back together, like standing next to each other in space, looking at the planet. And here's why I'm bringing you this little tangent is because I'm like, not that God can be sad, but God, I got the feeling standing next to God, looking at this earth, that we were it. And then looking at that, I got a heavy feeling of, oh my God, this is it. We're fucking killing each other. There's war, there's poverty, there's hate, there's racism, there's fill in the blank of crap that we're doing to ourselves on this spaceship, man. And it felt heavy. God kind of did. After I felt that heaviness, kind of looked at me like, yeah, I know. Right? And then obviously the second half was boom, let's go. We went from outer space to kind of sitting in a movie theater like, holy shit, look at my past, my present, my future, this and those people. And without a doubt, the most incredible experience of my life. But again, getting back to our topic of this podcast, forgiveness. When I got home, I've shared this previously, but if you're a new listener, welcome aboard. That I sat at the Boca Raton Beach Club for 6 hours. It was a beautiful night. I sat for 6 hours with my bride, Susie, and I told her all of everything from my journey. Obviously, a lot more personal stuff that's between us, but it's funny. I can put myself back in that moment and look at her face, and first hour or two, she like, what the fuck is this guy talking about, and what happened to Matthew, right? I bring this up because, as we've shared, as Susie has shared, God bless her and her healing, it was a little rough when I got back. I needed, I have to talk about this because it's helped others. When I give this type of advice, take it or leave it, people who have taken it are like, dude, thank you for saying that, because that probably would have happened to us and it would have been a problem. What am I saying? It was rough when we got back. Why? Because God, source, truth, divine, whatever word you want to use, whatever that thing is that made me, you, everything, this book, this cell phone, those trees, forgave me. So why do I need, somebody 20 years ago who I might have wronged? So there was a little tough at home because Susie, great woman, was kind of like, well, God forgave you, but, what about me, type of thing. And I got that. But I didn't need it. So there was this friction, because the longer you're out of the medicine type of stuff, the more the rust builds up and the ego. And I'm like, well, shit, maybe she's, so there was a little bit of a dogfight. And after a couple months, she's like, well, maybe I should sit with the medicine. And the medicine called her. This isn't a seek. This isn't a, hey, this is a, you listen. If you feel the medicine calling, it's up to you to listen. It's so interesting because people have told me that. They're like, dude, no. And then, yep, you know what, dude, you're right. It hasn't, then it did. I'm like, I knew. Again, creepy, right? It isn't. The medicine. So the medicine called to Susie, and then after she sat with the medicine, she's like, I got it. I understand. So forgiveness, again, is a human thing. I am human. You are human. I get it. We need it, and ego and all sorts of stuff. But I'm telling you, as a result of this medicine work, the only forgiveness that you truly need is from God, and you got it. That should be the biggest takeaway from today. I get it. It's human to want to get on your knees and crawl on hot coals and broken glass and apologize or beg for forgiveness from people you have wronged. I got it. But I'm telling you, as God, as my witness, you have it. And that should make you feel a hell of a lot better. It changed my life. And I'm bringing this up because I'm dealing with some stuff, ego, and, kind of, but I'm not a slave anymore to needing somebody else's forgiveness. That's such a relief in my life. Again, there's still a fighter pilot, still a little ego running around like, dude, you need to. So I and folks, listen to me. I'm not some fucking flowing robes, holier than thou. I'm a sinner. I do wrong. I'm a hell of a better person, but it's so cool having this feeling that the main thing who put me here says, dude, I don't make imperfect things. Trust me, son. You're good to go. If you need it, here it is. And it went. This is a recurring, common thing with the medicine. Feeling, result. So if that's where you are in your life, and this is somewhat resonating with you, like, you know what, it would be awesome to have this feeling, or not necessarily need the forgiveness of others, this might be the way. But as Cynthia, our guy, and Nicole, she's our director of medicine operations, they will work with you. This ain't, Whiz, that podcast sounds good. I'm going to the mission within tomorrow. Book my flight type of thing. You got to put some work into it beforehand. Because some of my intentions, I didn't have my journal's at home. I don't think I wrote like, hey, I need forgiveness for all. I think some of my questions for the medicine were like, God, or medicine, why? What was up with all the drinking, or what is, not was, it's was now, it was at the time. You know what I mean? I'm like, what's up with the drinking and the drugs? Answered. So you gotta treat it as a combat mission. Even if you're not a fighter pilot, you're not somebody from the military, treat it as one of the most serious things you're ever going to do. Roland Griffiths, right? Incredible researcher at Johns Hopkins, beautiful soul. Couldn't even get into his dinner out at Psychedelic Science. Thousands of people going to honor that man. He was on Oprah recently. He's on How to Change Your Mind. He's, I believe he's got terminal cancer, and just an incredible soul. But as a result of that Johns Hopkins study, what was it, 85, 90% of the participants, I would say 100% of the people we've given healing grants to, I will say 100% guaranteed, say that this medicine experience is in the top 5 of the most significant events in their life. And I've told you, and I'll tell the new folks this right now. Don't tell Susie and my kids. No, I'm kidding. I'd call it tied for first. Why? Because it put all the other 4 into perspective. Getting married and my 3 beautiful children. There's some outside of that. Getting my wings as a naval aviator. Stuff. There's stuff along the way. Sitting with the medicine and healing provided context. It provided clarity. It put all the others into this container of love. So I'd say it's number 1, but tied as number 1 with marriage and my 3 kids. So there's 5 right there. So I would treat this, if you're considering the medicine, with that type of seriousness. And the people that do the work beforehand, the results are pretty good. Obviously, I've covered this a lot. There's a lot of work to do on the back end. And it is work. But if this is work, being a better human, father, husband, I'll do it for the rest of my life. But it's not easy coming home, as I just said. I came home a clean piece of paper. Don't want to drink anymore. And Susie, let's go. Let's get on with our lives. I've never been better. Yeah, about that. Whoa, what are you talking about, man? Let's go. Giddy up. Get up. So it's not all sunshine, unicorns, and lollipops, folks. You have got to do the work. If you come home and you fall back into some of the habits that brought you to the medicine, ain't going to be necessarily a good time. Okay, but that's why we have Nicole, and you do integration. It's a process, man. Weekly calls or this or that or your meditation, whatever the integration program is that you subscribe to. We have our protocol here at the No Fallen Heroes Foundation. Do it. It's working out. Could you imagine getting a clean piece of paper, being being the current you, but with a lot of shit, all the rust knocked off you? What would you do with that? You are a clean piece of paper. You probably don't want to go back to doing some of the things that brought you to the medicine, correct? Exactly, right? Marcus, JT, those dudes haven't. I don't think have had a drink since the medicine. They're off, dropped all their meds. Me, I am 99.9 off the alcohol. What's the 0.1 Whiz? Still like a glass of Opus One with my ribeye or something like that. So, but my drinking, folks, it's wow. In some respects, it kind of makes me sick, to be honest with you, which is a great thing. If you've known me pre-medicine, the drinking was not a good thing. Being Irish, I'm naturally depressed anyway, and alcohol's whatever. That's in the past. So clean piece of paper, coming home, you don't want to go back to the stuff that led you to the medicine, or it'll be difficult. So good stuff. Would like to close with just, again, leaving you with this message. Forgiveness is unknown in heaven, where the need for it would be inconceivable. I want you to sit with that because it's so not human. What are you talking about? And you're talking to me, folks, altar boy, Catholic church, Catholic schools, Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, all boys Catholic high school. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Appreciate that. You need to get on your knees and literally get on your knees and beg for forgiveness, or you're going to burn in hellfire for eternity. Imagine telling that to a kid. You miss church on a Sunday, it's a mortal sin, and you will burn in eternity. Yoo-hoo. Holy shit, man. Need to clean some of that stuff up, Catholic Church. But I get it. It's the exact opposite of what many of us have been taught. Dude, you need to, the Catholic Church, you had to go to, and again, I got big problems with the Catholic Church in some areas. I was about to say you need to go sit in a room with a dude and confess your sins. I don't want to get off on a tangent. A little creepy with some shit. And I don't even want to, it's way in the past, but let's just say, yeah. I'm glad the Pope, I think, hopefully has begged for forgiveness. The Baltimore, my God, the Catholic diocese in Baltimore. Oh, my God, man. I watched that Netflix show with the nun. Oh, you don't even want to keep the keepers. Do you want to watch something that'll freak you out and piss you? Well, no, you shouldn't. But anyway, here's what I'm getting at. It is very foreign to us, especially if you were raised in a religious home, to assume that you are forgiven for stuff. It's, how dare you, Whiz? That's ego, and I've caught in some flack and shit from folks in the past for talking like this. You need to get your ass back at church, Whiz. Okay. God bless you. And this is all my experience. Not saying it's gospel, not saying anything other than this is what I experienced. But doesn't it make sense? And there's other places in here. This is why I strongly recommend A Course in Miracles. The Holy Spirit is the one that kind of, says sin. I got to find that. Where is it? The special relationship of the world are destructive, selfish, and childishly egocentric. Yet if given to the Holy Spirit, these relationships can become the holiest things on earth. The miracles that point the way to the return to heaven. There's so much in here, guys, and again, it's like, dude, why'd you even waste the highlighter? It's like the whole page. Unbelievable. I'm trying to find, it's a quote about sin, right? And separation. And it really, it was cool because you're like, oh, if I sin, I'm going to burn in hell forever. It's like, hey man, sin is separation. You look at criminals and when they're doing stuff like that, it's because they're separate. They are believing in the illusion that they are separate from God. They are separate from source. The further separated you are, a Jeffrey Dahmer, a Vladimir Putin, that you are from source and truth, the more crazy shit and evil you will do. I get it. But I'll dig around some more. I have to find that though, because it's a great sentence that it made me feel better. Like, hey man, if you've ever sinned in your life, it's an error to be corrected, not an evil to be punished. And I get it. Jeffrey Dahmer, Vladimir Putin, there is evil. People do horrific things, and I get that. But would they have done those horrific things if they were truly healed? The answer is no. I know this doesn't sit well with people, but guess what? Veterans, first responders, and their families I want to heal. You know who I also think should do the medicine? Criminals. You want to lower the rate of recidivism? 70% of convicts when on parole are back in prison. Yeah, no shit, man. They need help. They need healing. The Pope, John Paul, the good one, met with the dude that shot him in prison and forgave him. And I'm not going to, I don't know what they said to each other as they were close together, but maybe something like along the lines of like, you are forgiven, son. You're forgiven for me. I'm a human. You're forgiven for shot me, but know this, God has forgiven you and you didn't need it, but I'll just tighten you up on that. Isn't that cool? But folks, and Jesus, the whole thing, I'd rather hang out with the prisoners and the folks that need the help, not the rich people and everything like that. But I'm telling you, man, and I know I sound crazy to a lot of you, but criminals need the medicine. I'm telling you, it would show them who they truly are underneath, and they're not. It's sad. It's so sad. But again, 5 years ago, me on a podcast talking about criminals need to do psychedelic therapy, I'd laugh at me. He's dead, folks. That imperfect ego died. And I ain't saying I'm perfect right now, obviously, but your soul is. This shell got a lot of freaking problems, man, and I'm working on the shell. Every day I work on the shell to be better, to lead with my heart, my truth. But know that your core, that magic, that spark that created the instant that you were created, you are nothing but love and energy and light, and you are perfect. And you don't need the forgiveness of someone else. You already have it. God bless you. Have a great rest of your day. Happy hunting. Make sure you hedge. Fights on. Namaste and basi basi. I'll talk to you guys next time.